everyone, and welcome to another edition of Motorsports Today, powered by SeatGeek. I'm Eddie Kalegi. This weekend, Motorsports Today had boots on the ground in America's heartland at Kansas Speedway for the 5th race of the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs and our 10th stop at a NASCAR track this season overall. From the Xfinity Series producing an exciting Saturday to a Sunday that had it all, from a flip to double overtime and a finish you need to see to believe. For all the interviews and coverage, here's Tim Moore.
Tim Moore, Riley Ogle coming at you here from Kansas Speedway as it's time for Hollywood Casino 400 weekend. Yesterday was Butterbean Queen pretty much sealing up the ARCA Menard Series Championship, and now today it's time for the NASCAR Xfinity Series and its second race of the playoffs. Back at Bristol, it was fun, it was chaotic, and I expect this weekend being nothing shy of that. In practice, we saw the dramatics for the Cup Series. Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, two Penske cars immediately having trouble. Ryan Blaney, he'll have to go to a backup car. He will start in the back while Joey Logano as well cut down a tire. He was slow in his qualifying lap. You could see if they have some damage to the underbody, but overall, struggles there. Austin Cindric in qualifying, he knocked down the wall. He as well, we'll see how they assess the damage, but he as well could potentially be going to the back. But very interesting overall. The tires caught many by surprise, and needless to say, it's going to be very interesting. Times two, they were slower. Chase Briscoe, he knocked his 7th pole of the season, which is absolutely remarkable, the most since Kyle Busch in 2017, but even he mentions that the tire didn't exactly catch him by surprise, unlike what most drivers said. But what caught them by surprise is the lap time change. The temperatures, the wind, to be honest with you, and Riley behind the camera can even tell you, the wind is not as strong as what it usually is here. But overall, the temperatures aren't really much different from what we saw here in the spring. Yet with a different tire, yet with different things, we saw a lot of chaos in practice, and I would not be surprised tomorrow with it being a later start time, right when the sun's at its peak here in Kansas. I would not be surprised if we see it continuing being issues at all throughout the race tomorrow. But here, the Xfinity race, and Brandon Jones, he'll qualify on pole for the Kansas Lottery 300, and there's a lot that's going to happen here in this race, and I expect it, just like the Cup race, to be chaotic. The only one that's safe, though, pretty much coming to this race, well, it's really actually two drivers. It's Connor Zilisch and his teammate Justin Allgaier. Allgaier 56 points to the good, and Zilisch is more than a race to the good. All he needs is a solid day today to clinch himself into the round of 8 before they have their final race to the round. But from Tim Moore, from Riley Ogle, it's going to be an interesting weekend all weekend long, but tires, the topic here today on this Saturday afternoon. Stick right with us all weekend long here in Motorsports Today.
Worn tires and unexpected grooves were the story of Saturday's Xfinity race, but so too was Brendan Butterbean Queen, just his 2nd career Xfinity Series start, and the driver in the driver's seat to win the ARCA title scored a 9th place for Colleague Racing.
I wanted to redeem myself, obviously, from Bristol. I didn't perform how I wanted, not the team's fault. I just put us in that hole in qualifying, so much better start to today, qualifying up front, have track position. Had a couple of issues on pit road with the guy spinning out in front of me, and that set us back. And Eddie Purdue called a great race, great strategy, which we had to get our track position back. And I probably lost a couple just off experience there, but I learned every restart, and I felt like it got better. I wasn't able to really wrap wall like I wanted to, but felt like I had other areas that I was good. So honestly, just learned all night, kept the car in one piece, and it ain't nothing wrong with top 10, first mile and a half.
How challenging was live pit stops throughout the day for you?
I'm getting more and more used to it just through the truck stuff last year, and there's things I can do better. I could probably run my lights more aggressive, but I also don't want to get a penalty. I'd rather lose one spot than 20.
Thanks to mistake-free pit stops, sound strategy, and a solid day all around, several playoff drivers made the most of Kansas Speedway. That included runner-up Connor Zilisch, who punched his ticket to the next round, 4th place Sammy Smith, and 5th place Sheldon Creed, who all spoke with Tim Moore post-race.
What is it that you liked about the middle lane today? Because I noticed you ran that a bunch.
Yeah, I was just having to cut down. I was struggling. The top lane just never really came in like it did last year, so we were all having to kind of just cut down and run the middle exiting the corner, and I feel like that's what worked best for most cars.
So was that a surprise to you that the top lane didn't develop as quickly?
Yeah, I really wish that it had. I feel like it would have helped us with kind of the balance that we had. So, it is what it is. This track's always a lot of fun when it gets onto the boards, and, that's where you can make speed, but it wasn't the case today.
Just how relaxing is it for you, if you've been asked this already, just to know that you're going in the Roval not just in a safe situation, but can purely just focus on a win.
It's nice. The Roval can be a chaotic one for sure, and it's definitely good to be able to go there and just race, for a win and not really have to worry about getting out of there alive. So, I'm excited for it.
So, Sammy, when it's all said and done, you have a great showing here at Kansas. You've cut the gap down to 14. First off, ideally, obviously, I'm sure you probably wanted to cut it more or come home with the victory, but does it feel comforting at least to know your situation going to the Roval, even though you're behind the cut?
I mean, yeah, it was a frustrating day because we felt like we could have cut it more, but we didn't. And then, we know that we have a chance next week, and that's all you can ask for. So, unfortunate situation we had at Bristol, and we're going to dig hard this week, focus, and put ourselves in a position that we can go win or advance.
Do you feel like you can point in even though it's only 14?
Absolutely. It's a chaotic one at the Roval, so we just need to control our own destiny, and yeah.
Connor kind of talked about earlier about how it was kind of surprising to him that the top didn't maybe as develop as quickly. Do you feel the same, and how do you feel about the tires throughout the day?
I mean, I thought the tires were good. The right side tire definitely threw everyone for a challenge. The top did not come in like it normally does, and we'll different than what everyone expected. So we're looking forward to the Roval.
Anything to translate to Vegas?
I think it's the same tire, so it'll be probably similar, and I feel good about Vegas.
We expected to be a little better after practice there, and just fired off super loose that first run, and kind of knew we had to go to work, and got it a little better and better every run. And I feel like after the green flag pit stop, we went back to being pretty bad again, and caught that caution and decided to pit, and thankfully it went green. To grab a fifth and almost fourth at the line. I finally got to the 8th there, so just grinded it out. It was tough. The tire's a little different, I think. Not your typical Kansas that we see where you can run right on the fence, and it looked like everyone was sliding around, so made it kind of fun, but super challenging.
You mentioned the tire, so I'm imagining that it caught you by surprise a little bit on the right side, just kind of how it reacted today.
Yeah, I think it kind of caught everyone off guard. Usually we're kind of on the tight side, and I was really loose all day. So, it made it pretty challenging. And, I don't know when we run this tire again, probably Las Vegas. So, we're going to have to dive into it a little bit and, see what we need to do to improve.
But the story of Saturday was Joe Gibbs Racing's Brandon Jones, who picked up his second win of the year, taking the victory from pole and moving on to the next round of the playoffs. It's been one of the best seasons in a while for a driver who has almost as much experience as any in Xfinity.
What is different from this year compared to past years? I mean, this is your first multi-win season now since 2020, and it just seems like there's a different version of you as compared to what we've seen in the past.
It's just addicting to have a team like I have that believes in every single word that comes out of my mouth. I think that it's really, really nice to sit in these meetings and be the one driving this, 20 group in the direction that we go. This is not an easy task for Sam McCauley and those guys, and they came off of Sheldon Creed last year with them. Sheldon drives completely backwards from how I drive these cars. So we honestly started the year out, with stuff that worked for Sheldon, but that doesn't work for me. So Sam's done a great job, and we've had to take a lot of time at this. We've had to have a lot of long, big debriefs after these races and conversations about the feel that I'm looking for. There's a lot of things that I do with Sam that is fun on a personal level as well. We just went out to the Trackhouse Motorplex up in North Carolina there, and I put him in my goat kart, and we have fun days like that together. So what we're doing is we're building a really, really strong brotherhood, almost more so than just a team, right? So that will end up showing up more as we continue to go, through our career together.
And Connor Zilisch kind of mentioned after the race he was surprised a little bit how the top lane maybe hadn't come in as quickly. Were you surprised by that at all? And, how challenging was it in the early portions at least to open up the track?
Yeah, I know we were on a slightly different tire this year with Goodyear, what they brought to the track this weekend. So the beginning of practice, I was thinking this is going to be a typical Kansas race. We're going to go to the fence. You're going to qualify against the fence. You're going to run that third lane. but it was not that way, right? I mean, I was earlier today qualifying, I was 2 away from going out, still kind of thinking about running the top for my lap, and I finally we came to the conclusion of it's just not there. It's just not what this tire wants this weekend. So we had to adjust around that all day long. I've really never ran that really high line like I was today and then diving down super low. I mean, I did that the whole race, and so that was a little bit different for me. I think that was something that Justin showed his hand a little bit in the 7 car whenever he was out front early on, and I was kind of just watching him and what he was doing. I started to match his lap times doing what he was doing, so I started to find a little bit of speed there in that aspect, and once we got to clean air, that was kind of what changed the game a little bit for us. But yeah, a very unique line compared to what I had in my head, and I think a lot of that comes from just the different tire and just the amount of rubber this track laid this weekend.
Moving on to the Cup Series, Kansas is a treacherous track. Joey Logano spoke about that and reflected about an unforgettable incident he had at the track a now whopping 10 years ago.
It's very difficult because you're running right up against a wall and you're on the ragged edge. And so anytime you got to qualify up next to the wall and you've got to be pretty much wide open, or if not wide open, a little mistake where the car not handling exactly the way you thought it would, the consequences are huge. You smack the wall. So you hit the wall, it's over. So it's a pretty sketchy lap.
And I want to go back to something in history. Obviously, I'm sure you remember fondly about the Matt Kenseth incident that happened in Martinsville, but I think about the race where you won here and you raced him so hard. I'm just wondering, is there anything you would have done differently back then racing for the win here now that you reflect on it years later, or you're racing for a Cup win and Matt threw all those blocks? You deserve to win at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, Matt threw some big blocks. He put me in the wall right before that. I have no regrets on how I handled it on the racetrack. I have regrets on how I handled it off the racetrack, where I think I could have handled things to maybe cool the situation down a little bit, but I didn't quite do that as good as I should have.
Team Penske couldn't follow up its incredible weekend at New Hampshire. All 3 cars had to go to the rear because of damage sustained on Saturday. Austin Cindric, who's in the most precarious points position, spoke with Tim.
Do you at least feel this is the best car for you that you guys have brought to Kansas?
I feel like I've had some pretty good cars here, just not been able to, show it with the result. Starting where we'll be starting will not really capture that either. We have to have a good day, and I thought our car was pretty decent in race trim. Thought we were a top 5 car, so just got to be able to continue to adjust. I think this tire caught everybody out, as not from a durability standpoint, but from a pace and balance perspective. So I feel like today was a bit of a mixed bag.
Do you feel the top seam is going to help or maybe hurt saving the right rear there, or do you just expect it to not change much?
I don't think that the racetrack has the seams on the racetrack aren't failing any tires.
But I don't mean failing in terms of, I guess, just keeping the right side tire cool more than anything. Maybe. Okay.
How does qualifying and race trim differ at Kansas Speedway? Hendrick Motorsports driver William Byron weighed in.
How much does the track change, I would say, in terms of qualifying when it's hotter out as compared to cooler?
I don't know. I think it's really a balance. You just have to have a good balance in your race car, and I think that's the biggest key. Is if you have a good balanced race car, it just seems like everything kind of builds. And for me, what I've learned about qualifying is just, man, when your car's balanced, you feel like a hero, and then when you're not as balanced, you feel like you're kind of on the edge, and you feel like you've worked really hard to not really go very fast. So I think that's the best way I could describe qualifying. It's just it's a handful when the car's not working well, and it's great when it is.
What do you look at out of your car when it comes race time here? Like, what do you want ideally to progress yourself through the field or lead laps?
I think it's just balance from run to run and having that kind of feel that you want in the race car, where you can move around the track and save the tires well. It seems like this place just is on the edge of grip. So if you're constantly sliding, you're going slow, and if you're able to keep the tires plugged into the racetrack, you're usually going pretty fast.
Do you think there's going to be strong comparisons from here to when you guys go to Vegas, considering it's going to be the same tire, or do you think it's going to be completely different?
I think it will be I think you'll be able to learn some here, but I don't know. The tracks are very different, so I'm not sure exactly how much you can apply, but hopefully we can learn some traits.
Compared to seasons past, I'm just wondering to get your thoughts. How would you evaluate your postseason run now that we're closing in towards the halfway point compared to what you've done the years, of course, obviously being the mix in the Final Four and so on? And do you feel like you have right now what it takes to be a champion this year?
I don't know yet. I think we're trending in the right direction. I feel like the first round was just to try to get through it. That wasn't our goal, but then that kind of was the way that the tracks played out and the way our cars were, and so we just had to get through it. And then I think since then we've since improved. Last weekend was really strong, and feel like we're trending in the right direction. So we just got to keep that trend going in the direction it is.
Ask anyone in the Hendrick Motorsports camp. Despite a strong run at New Hampshire that showed upward trajectory for the team, the playoffs haven't gone their way. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson spoke about their comfortability and their progress in the postseason so far, while Larson also talked about his jersey swap that made some headlines this week with Patrick Mahomes.
Really, I think the only comfortable place to be going into the Roval is to have a win. And we touched on it a little bit a few minutes ago, but I think how you run this weekend and whether or not you have a win throughout the first two is really going to dictate how you play the second stage at the Roval. Most of the time, the guys that flip that second stage are going to have the best shot at winning the race, barring some late race, or not late race, but semi-late race caution with enough time to put on tires and get back to the lead. So obviously all of this is very circumstantial. It's all speculation. I don't know. I'm going to go out here and do the best I can, try to win this thing this weekend. If we can, then we'll flip both stages at Charlotte and we'll try to win the race. If not, we'll probably stack some points in the first stage, see where we're at going in the second stage. If we don't have enough, we'll probably stay out again, try to get some more points. And do our best from restarting last in the last stage. So I don't know. That's a great question, but unfortunately those things just cannot be answered until you understand what the circumstance is when you get there.
How do you kind of evaluate where you are in the playoffs as compared to past years at this point now that we're closing in on the halfway point of the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean it's you can't really hide from it. It's probably been our weakest playoffs of my career, and at least at Hendrick Motorsports. Going through the first round with 0 top 10s was not something that we expected. But we still, gained good points throughout the first two races of that round, which was good. We just didn't get the race finishes that we've had in the past. But then we had a good, New Hampshire, where I know that track hasn't been in the playoffs for a little while, but we ran better there than we have in the past. So, yeah, I don't know. We still have a lot of racing left to get back to, what we've been. And like I said, I feel like we are getting better and better each week. Although it may be little, improvements, it's still stacking, and hopefully it, kind of peaks at the right time.
To go back on with Mahomes and Kelsey, I am wondering, Kyle, have you ever done a race suit swap before or anything? Or is this your first time?
No, I mean, we've definitely done some throughout the past, but, it's probably the most popular jersey or whatever you want to call it I've got. So it's really cool. I'll probably definitely get it framed up and you hang it in the game room at the house or something.
You mentioned you were surprised that you haven't gotten any backlash, but do you have anything to say to 49ers fans?
Say that again?
Do you have anything to say to 49ers fans that may be a little upset that you went to Arrowhead?
No.
Okay.
Yes, Hendrick Motorsports has been sputtering a bit, but no team is in a worse position entering Kansas than 2311 Racing. Both their cars were non-existent at New Hampshire. At a track where they've once had success but have struggled lately, can Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace turn things around?
The last time you guys had a top 10 here was back when you won in 23. Just how frustrating, how frustrating does that become for a driver or a crew chief when you guys go from dominating at a racetrack to then just kind of scratching your head on what do you guys need, in especially a critical playoff race to get to where you need?
Yeah, it certainly will frustrate you, motivate you. You'll scratch your head some. Yeah, I think the positive for us is it seems like it's typically been something that is a challenge about Kansas specifically. I feel like in the years since I won here, I've been able to go to other intermediate style racetracks. obviously, I guess I won Homestead last year, but beyond that, like, your Texas Motor Speedways, your Charlottes, your Vegas tracks, been able to go to those other 1.5 miles and have lots of speed. So, we should be able to figure this out, I'd say, when we're able to go to these other 1.5 mile track types that, yes, are different, but they have similarities, and we're able to put it together there. So we just got to figure it out, and hopefully our starting point this weekend is much more what we need. I think that's what was a real point of frustration for us last year, or this spring, is, I walked away from practice being happier than I've ever been at a place like Kansas, even winning here. And, the race was a struggle. So we just really have to be on top of it, pay attention to our notes. Just try to make the best adjustments possible going into the race.
Like I said, after the post-race, excited to see the efforts, see how they show up today and even tomorrow for sure. It's just kind of head-scratcher. I mean, you're always evolving. The cars are always changing. Doesn't matter if you win, you still have to keep up with the times, as they say, and things can get out of sorts, and it doesn't take much. So excited to see how full circle moment we can make it to get back on top. It's just basically get back on the horse. One bad week isn't going to deter us from our destiny, our path for the season. So we're still excited, still optimistic. A lot of people are looking forward to running this whole thing out and get to Phoenix and racing for a championship. So we just got to work really hard and capitalize on the opportunities.
Now that we're closing in towards the halfway point of the playoffs, just where do you evaluate your run to this point as compared to playoff attempts in the past?
Yeah, I was excited to be in the playoffs and trying to make a name for myself and not really focusing on like racecraft and the important things, right? As to we're here, I know the situation that we're in. I'm aware of it, but it's not a weekend ender. It's not, a mindset changer. It's just, okay, this is the cards we're dealt with. Let's, do the best we can.
The action track for the next-gen cars Sunday at Kansas Speedway was no different. We even saw a flip when Zane Smith rode the wall off of John Hunter Nemechek. But what about Team Penske and Ryan Blaney? He started at the rear and finished 24th, but Blaney still got stage points.
I got to maybe 9th in the second one, and I kind of just was there the rest of the day, 8th to 10th or 11th, and depending on how restarts played out and where I could get to, that's about where I was going to be at. That's about where I figured that we could get to.
Hendrick and Gibbs were the two banner teams all day, and pit road was the separator. With replacement jackman Denny Hamlin lost some spots after sweeping the stages, but Kyle Larson kept his track position. And for the 5 team, which has really struggled since May, it was a very productive day for Larson.
I mean, honestly, you're never completely comfortable unless you've got a win under your belt. So congrats to Chase, dude. That's really awesome. He had a phenomenal, final restart there. And you're cool to see him win.
And his win, I think if Bubba had won,
he
would have flipped over the points incredibly.
Yeah, I think when I had asked under the red maybe, we were like plus 32 or something. So happy to see a non, guy out of the bubble or whatever, out of the top 8, win. But happy that Chase won.
How do you feel with the progress of your team and being up front? Didn't lead those laps, but up front a lot more.
I thought we had a solid day. We had a really good race car, probably the best race car we've had in a long time, since probably Charlotte, earlier this year. So, happy with the speed that we brought. I just didn't do the best job with what I had on the restarts, and would do some track fishing and then have to kind of slowly, get it back over the course of a long run.
It was the awkward dap heard around the world post-race. Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace competed on the final lap of double overtime. Bubba Wallace had the lead. Hamlin made a move with no power steering, walling the 23, which allowed Chase Elliott to slip through and Toyota to lose out on a victory. Bubba and Denny were both candid post-race, discussing what went down.
We couldn't get Toyota to victory lane. We've been working really hard to get our program back here at Kansas. We still got a lot of work to do. Played all of our cards right. Yeah, just wasn't meant to be.
Will there be a conversation with Denny about this?
Can't talk to him.
You're going to race him any differently, potentially, since it's how he raced you?
I mean, I've always been big on you race me. How you race me is how I race you. no matter who you are, what it is. We race hard. We race hard every week. Toyota drivers race really hard every week, but we respect each other. And there's a fine line that sometimes gets crossed, and you have to understand that. But we got one more race at the Roval. For me, it's a must-win there, right? But we're going to go and do what we did today, fight hard, and just make the most of it.
Are you good with the way everything was raced at the end, or do you feel?
Fifth, Bob going for the win, so no. But
no, I mean, like, do you feel like anybody did anything uncouth, or is that just overtime finish?
Yeah, no, Bob. You're searching for an answer. You know what it is.
Bubba, do you at least feel good now to get the monkey off the back here, considering the struggles last 2-3 years? I know I asked you that at the start of the week, but
yeah, a little bit. But we're still playing second fiddle to JGR, so hats off to them. You know, we really got to study on why we are third. But to say we're third after the 3 races here, that's a win for us.
A little bit lower to allow a space between us, so I don't get so tight and then try to turn the wheel more.
Could you run much lower with the power steering? I mean, we're
Yeah.
not asking a lot out of what you're already doing already.
I don't know. Surely could have done something different. I got no power steering. I'm trying everything I can, and obviously really difficult, and just super disappointed that I couldn't finish this one out.
Is it more difficult with racing Bubba there, just because he is
Not really.
one of your guys?
I would have. Hey. Yep, see ya. I mean, a little bit. I mean, I would have raced everyone the same way. I'm going for 60. No one will ever accuse me of laying over for anyone for a win. And obviously, to win a championship, we gotta figure out a way to move on. And I would have loved for me in the 23 to battle it out, but obviously I couldn't turn the car well enough that last corner and got him up the racetrack.
Denny, how are your hands feeling? I just want to know after all that.
Tired. Just really tired.
Despite being 8th in the final restart, Chase Elliott was Houdini, stealing the win from Toyota, his second victory of the year, and sending the 2020 Cup champ into the round of 8. Elliott spoke about the excitement of the win, his approach at the Roval, while Jeff Gordon was very optimistic about where Team Hendrick stands after a lackluster start to the playoffs.
Would this be considered, at least for you, more exciting than any of your typical wins, considering how it happened?
Yeah, I mean, it was from my perspective for sure. I mean, it was a lot going on in those last couple laps. So, yeah, like I mentioned, I was just trying to put myself in positions to have good momentum, and opportunities opened up, and we were able to capitalize. So I'll take it. But I talked about it on the front stretch, and I'll say it again in here. I felt like this weekend was a success, whether we won today or not. I was really proud of how we were prepared, how we handled yesterday, put ourselves in a good position, got our pit crew a great pit stall on pit road, got to showcase their talents and how good they are. We weren't the dominant car on the long run, but we had good short run pace, and kept ourselves in the fight, and like I've told you guys 1,000 times, you put yourself in position, you're going to get your turn, and fortunately for us, today was our turn.
And Chase, you kind of mentioned to me yesterday just about at least your approach going to the Roval. If you're still in the point situation, your plan was at least to flip the stages. Does that change it now to maybe go get some more playoff points?
Yeah, I think we run the race to try and win it for sure. Flip stages and points doesn't matter, at this juncture. So I think for us, if we can, if we're competitive, if we're not competitive and we can get a stage point or a stage win and get the bonus point that way, then of course. But assuming you have pace, is kind of how I was answering those questions. If we're slow, then that don't matter, anyway. So we got to go be fast, and if we're fast, then at least we can run our strategy how we would typically do it to have a shot to win.
Jeff, you had mentioned at least the luck for Chase going from 8th, 9th, whatever it was, all the way to first on that last restart. And you mentioned a 24 struggle, but Williams still comes back home with a 9th place result. Do you feel when you're able to put it all together at the end, even though it didn't go as designed, could this potentially be the momentum you guys need going the back half of the playoffs now to get to that championship form?
Yeah, you'll take the momentum however you can get it. Obviously this is a huge spark for the 9 team, but, you also want to execute solid races. I think we saw in the first round we didn't execute very well, and it looked sloppy. And I just love seeing what we did last week at New Hampshire. Fast race cars, solid execution all day on pit road, and choices on and off the racetrack. And then we follow that up again, today, in particular the 24, because they were way down the list, right on where they were running and not getting any stage points, and came into it with a lot of points. And to see them fight through that, and I feel like they've kind of been in championship form, several times this season, winning the regular season points. And today was uncharacteristic of them, but to see them, fight back, that keeps the momentum on their side as well. But this late in the season, this stage and round in the playoffs, it's so important to get some things to go your way to give you that extra incentive or just extra motivation to go win a championship and believe that you can do it.
Tim Moore, Riley Ogle, wrapping things up here from Kansas Speedway and Hollywood Casino 400 weekend. And I don't even know where to begin, because I'm going to be honest with you. What did we just see? I mean, this was equivalent to a bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, walk-off shot for Chase Elliott. And somehow, some way, he went from 8th to 1st on the final restart and ended up picking up his second win of the season here at Kansas Speedway. Chase Elliott, he doesn't have to worry about next week, but the guy who does have to worry about next week, unfortunately, was the guy who was leading the final two GWCs. He makes contact with team owner Denny Hamlin, and I'm talking about Bubba Wallace. And you've got to be devastated for the 23 group. Bubba, honestly, handled it pretty well post-race, I'm going to be honest with you. Gave handshakes to his team, tried to be motivated, and yet you have to feel somewhat deflated for Bubba, because at the end of the day, one bad race is truthfully going to be the difference for Bubba Wallace in this playoff between being a round of 8 contender compared to being stuck in the round of 12 and eliminated. And for Bubba Wallace today, the worries about the Kansas woes, could they redeem, could they not redeem themselves? Well, Wallace struggled early, and suddenly they made adjustments to make him loose, and he was one of the cars to beat. Now, he wasn't the car to beat compared to Denny Hamlin, who led over 100 laps. I think he led at least 5 different times throughout the race. But either way, contact or not, Chase Elliott came out victorious and is the one who will sneak his way into the round of 8 when it's all said and done. Now, I'll end off with this, because we saw a lot. Sammy Smith went flipping out of turn 4. He was frustrated with John Hunter Nemechek. Ryan Blaney sped and then nearly got cost in that accident. So much went on. Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, so many things. William Byron had a bad day, still somehow ended up scoring 9th. Kansas, at the end of the day, I'll sum it up as this. It is spectacular, it is energetic, it is fun, it is electric, and it is the best track on the schedule year in and year out. And for the second straight year in the Hollywood Casino 400 in particular, not just at Kansas, a spectacular finish happened. And this race will be remembered for a very long time as the race that Chase Elliott stole away from the Toyotas and could be the spark that Hendrick Motorsports needs to win its championship in 2025.